All right, awesome. We are ready to go. Welcome everybody to your 2022 Internet Marketing Plan. My name is Will Hankey, and we're excited to have everybody on today, and excited to kind of help you through numbers, through different things that you'll be able to kind of understand about your business and how, what kind of leads you're going to want to get next year, and all of that. So here are some things we will cover in detail. Your goals for next year, how many leads you need in order to hit that goal. We're going to talk a little bit about things you can do on your website to optimize specifically for conversion. And we focus on conversion a lot. So, you can have a great looking website, but if it doesn't convert people from visitor into customer or potential customer, then it's just kind of a pretty website that's not doing a lot for your business. So talk about some things you can do there. Some big picture online marketing channels you need to make sure you're paying attention to in the coming year. Some of the latest trends that you need to focus on. And we're actually going to build a plan today that will help you really kind of maximize everything that you can take advantage of in the coming year. So just a couple things: mute your cell phone. Don't look at cats, although cats are cool, right? But don't look at cats on Facebook. And quite honestly, if you're serious, this is really going to help you in the next hour or so. I do want to make this interactive. So at any point, if you do have questions, and actually I'll ask a couple questions as well in here, I would very highly appreciate it if you would unmute and pitch in your two cents worth. Love to make it interactive versus me just talking for 45 minutes. That's not always exciting. So let's make it interactive if we can. So your 2022 Internet Marketing Plan, I did mention earlier, there is a workbook. If you have not downloaded that workbook already, you can do so at bit.ly/2022workbook. And that will get you this one. It shows over here on the right, along with all the different pages we're going to go through today, and really will help you. As you fill this out, we'll go through a decent amount of it today, but definitely worth going back and revisiting and filling this thing out in full, and really having a great idea of where you're at, where you want to be next year, and how you're going to get there. So let's start off with a question. Again, I would love it if you would unmute or put it into the chat. What is the hardest thing about marketing your business online? I'd love to hear feedback from a couple of you about what's the hardest thing. Pull up the chat here too. If you guys just want to put it in the chat, that's fine. If you want to unmute, let me know. That would be fine as well. So let's see here. Christian and Abigail, welcome.
Hello, thanks for the invitation. And to answer your question, knowing where we're going to get the most views and leads per dollar online, be it Facebook, Instagram, SEO, which one is the best, and what other marketing methods need to be used. How's Home Advisor, or should we do postcard to complement it, things like that.
Okay, great. So platforms, that's a big thing. What platform should we be on? What platform is going to give us great ROI? And then other, maybe not online methods, like you said, direct mail, billboards, TV, radio. There's a lot of different ways to go, obviously, for your business. So thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Anyone else want to share the hardest part about marketing their business? Christian got a big one though. That's a big one. All the different potential ways you can go about it is tough. So, all right, I don't see any other comments, so let's press on here. So here's the thing. A goal without a plan is just a wish. If you don't have a goal set, then it's hard to get there, right? You don't know if you're going to get there. For some of us, we might feel like we're just kind of, we're just kind of doing our thing. We're out there, we're getting some leads, and nothing is really kind of pushing us forward, but we're making it kind of treading water, I guess you could say. But if you have a clear goal set, it's like having wind in your sails. It's like having a direction, a goal, an end point, and a way to get there. It just works itself backwards. There was an interesting Harvard study that was done, and this always sticks in my mind how incredible this is. Don't know if you guys have heard this or not, but there was a interview of one of the graduating classes from Harvard, so not just some local junior college, right? 84% of the people that were graduating had no specific goals. So they're Harvard graduates, they're just going to go out and the world's going to come to them, I guess. 13% had goals, but didn't have them written down. And 3% had clear written goals and a plan to accomplish them. The results were incredible. The 13% of the class who had goals were on average making twice as much as the 84% who just thought they would wing it, right? But even more incredible is that the 3% who had the clear written goals written down were earning 10 times more than all of the other 97% together. So, that speaks obviously to the fact of having a goal set. So you need to have them written down. You need to have a plan to get there. You need to have a minimum, right? You definitely need to have some sort of, here's the minimum we're going to get to. And we recommend a 1-year, quarterly, monthly goals. If you're implementing something like the EOS, the Entrepreneur Operating System, I think they even ask you for a 5 and 10-year goal, which is exciting too. But the most important thing here is you need to have a stopping point. Typically, stopping point is now, right? It's the end of the year. What are we going to do in this case by the end of 2022? We kind of know where we landed for 21. So you need to have that stopping point. Typically, that is at the end of the next year. So with that in mind, that lets you set some goals. So let's do that. On page 4, workbook page 4 and 5, or you can do the interactive version if you want, bit.ly/2022 worksheet. What is your revenue target? So first thing, what is your revenue target for next year? And then basically all you do is break that down into monthly bits, right? So you divide it by 12. Then you figure out, okay, what is our average transaction value? And we're going to go through this. I'm going to give you a couple of examples. That'll tell you how many leads you need, how many calls that will require in order for you to close that many leads. So you just kind of work it backwards. So here's an example. If your revenue target for next year is 2.5 million, that means you need to be bringing in 208 a month. If your average transaction is 3,300, then that means you need 63 purchases. And those are purchases, right? So not necessarily leads or phone calls. Those are closed deals per month. So then you just take that number and you're able to start to see, okay, how many people do we need to talk to in an average month to hit those numbers, right? So average conversion rate from caller to appointment. And this really is where it gets a little bit murky, I guess, right? A lot of people don't know their average conversion rate. A lot of people think, if I can get somebody on the phone, I'm going to close them every single time. That's probably not true. Your average conversion rate is probably not 100%. But, it could be 60, 70, 80, depending on, obviously, a lot of factors, how they found you, how warm they are, things like that. But you should be able to figure out an average conversion rate. And then basically you just divide your purchase target by that conversion rate, and you'll end up with how many leads you need in an average month. So as an example, 55% conversion rate, I'm able to close pretty much half of everybody that calls. If I'm trying to hit 63 purchases. That means I need 114 leads per month in order to hit that 63 number, which will then work towards our goal of 2.5 million. So is anybody working this out kind of on the worksheet in their heads? I'd love to hear what you guys think. I know there's some math involved and all that stuff, but it helps you understand, especially this one, I think, understanding, okay, if this is our goal, then you just work it backwards to figure out how many purchases per month you need. There are some other things in here, like your average transaction value. You're going to have to know what that is. And this could be wildly different as well, right? If you're only doing high-end luxury type installs, your average transaction could be 10, 20 grand, right? So you don't need as many purchases to hit your number. But it could also be that, if you're doing a lot of blind installs, where your average transaction is, $600, that's a lot of work. So it really definitely depends on, obviously, knowing that average transaction value. I think it really hinges on that a lot. And then, of course, knowing your conversion rate from there. Keith, thanks for jumping on. Appreciate it. So put your goals in the worksheet, and that way you'll have that written down. You'll know the answer. And for those that just jumped on, I'll go back to the workbook page here, just so you know. It's bit.ly/2022 workbook if you want to download the workbook as well. All right, so let's talk a little bit about how you're going to get there, right? In the world of business success, there are three basic pieces, fundamentals, in order to succeed, especially online. The message or what you're telling people, the market, who you're talking to, and then the media, how are you going to talk to those people? So I want to go through each one of these and kind of explain them, because it's very important to have these three pieces in place so that you know exactly, from a marketing standpoint, how you're going to move forward to get those goals, hit those goals. So let's start with the market, or the who. So I'm curious, who is your ideal customer? Now, a lot of people will say, we'll work with anybody, or we work with homeowners. But there might even be a more specific piece of that. We work with luxury homeowners, high-end only, right? Or we only work with customers of a certain demographic or a certain location, obviously, in a lot of cases. But it's very important to know just who is your ideal customer, and you should really be specific as possible. I always hear of a story that Adobe, the creators of Adobe PDFs, Photoshop, all that kind of stuff, when they come to a meeting, let's say they're meeting about Photoshop, they will start the meeting off and say, okay, who are we talking about in relation to Photoshop? And they'll say, oh, we're talking about Judy. Okay, and every one of the people on the team has a specific understanding of how Judy interacts with Photoshop. And then the decisions made from that meeting are done with Judy's best interests in mind. So very important to kind of have what we call an avatar, or a persona. Sometimes this is called a persona as well. But understanding who that person is in detail. And in this case, like with Adobe, they give their avatars a name just to make it easier. And then when you're creating content, when you're creating video, when you're doing anything related to your business, you have that person in your head and you're speaking to that person, right? So having that in place is really going to help. And there's a lot of things that this covers. Are they a homeowner? How old are they, male or female? Do they marry, are they married typically? And obviously this isn't going to hit every single customer of yours, but there is probably a customer avatar that is very specific to either the people you are working with or the people you want to be working with. There's a lot of examples in the worksheet there of different ways that that you can kind of figure out who that person is, what they do, what are they kind of thinking, and then pains and frustrations. What is the problem that they typically have in order to start looking for a solution that you provide. Their blinds aren't working, or the sun is coming in every afternoon, right? Or I don't know, you want to blackout curtains for a new media room, something like that, maybe. They can't get somebody to return their call. Maybe they've called a couple different places and nobody seems to reach back out. So there's a lot of different pains and frustrations that could go along with it. It could be related to the kids, right? The kids need blinds in their room because they won't take a nap. I don't know, something like that. And then fears and implications. What happens if they don't take action? Or if they do take action, even what kind of fears do they have? Are they afraid of being overcharged? Are they afraid of the installers having muddy feet? Right? There are a lot of different things that people could be thinking about in their head when they're trying to engage with a business such as yours. So put some of those down. You've probably heard some of these from clients in the past. And then goals and desires. Obviously, what is the end solution? Maybe the end solution is, physically is to have some blinds in the windows so that the sun isn't coming in. But in reality, it's because they are working from home and they look like crazy on Zoom in the afternoon or something, right? There might be another issue behind the actual reason. And it could be that they're just wanting to do other things outside of that particular process. Maybe it's just they just want to have successful kids, or they want to travel more. All of these things can definitely play into who you talk to when you start to build content for your customers. This is a great quote that I saw. If you can see Joe Smith through Joe Smith's eyes, then you'll know how to sell what Joe Smith buys. If you can understand that, you'll be speaking specifically to that person, and it will resonate with them on the other end. All right, next, let's talk about the message. So what are we going to say to those people, right? So first thing, why should your avatar, your persona, your perfect customer choose to do business with you versus a competitor? A lot of times we call this, I can't think of the phrase now, our unique selling proposition, right? USP. What is the thing that makes you different, that makes you stand out from competitors, quite honestly? And then what benefits do you offer that you think a potential customer would resonate with? What kind of things do you offer? Do you offer, free install or free repairs, or will show up on time, right? There's a lot of different things that could be. What pain points can you poke at that your customer avatar will resonate with? These are great, especially if you address them up front, like if you're doing video or something. Hey, have you ever experienced, an installer that showed up with dirty feet, or you ever called the cable company and they were 3 hours late, that kind of stuff. Those are different pain points that you can poke at and create content, create a message around that speaks back to how you work differently or work better than your competitors. Here are some ideas. Same-day service, emergency services. Sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't. It really depends. Obviously, if you have the parts and that kind of stuff. But there's plenty others, right? Satisfaction guarantee, trustworthy staff. And nowadays, we wash our hands, we have all of these protocols in place. We take our shoes off, or we wear, booties on our shoes, things like that. Always on time, money back guarantee, a lot of different ways that you can use messaging to attract people and to kind of stand out from your competitors. The other thing I should talk about here is reviews. Reviews are huge, and even more so in the last year or so. Google was called Google My Business. Now they've changed the name to Google Business Profile. But we are seeing a lot of our clients getting a lot of leads from Google My Business, from that Google Business Profile area. And one of the big factors there that gets your business into that conversation in particular is having reviews. Reviews can really help your business grow. And I'm talking about reviews on Google, on Facebook, on Yelp, on Houzz, some of these platforms that Christian mentioned. Having reviews on those particular platforms are really going to drive more eyeballs to your business in general. Now, I should put in here a quick caveat. Testimonials are a little bit different. They're a lot of times they're considered the same thing, but a testimonial typically is something you put on your website that is a testimony about how great you are. And it's a good trust factor to have on a website. The only trouble with it is that Google doesn't trust testimonials at all, because you're the one building the website. So you can put whatever you want about yourself out there, right? So it's very important that you get reviews on these third-party platforms, especially Google, Google My Business, and then to a lesser degree, Facebook, Houzz, Yelp, some of these other trusted platforms that also provide the opportunity to leave reviews. Google is the big one for sure in this, but definitely different from having testimonials on your site and getting those third-party reviews. And it's a difference in how many times your phone rings, quite honestly. So definitely very important to have a plan in place to get those reviews. Now, one thing about reviews is there's something called social proof, and it's really interesting that this occurs at all. It's a psychological and social phenomenon where people assume the actions of others and attempt to reflect correct behavior in a given situation. So, for example, if you see a Facebook post that has 0 comments, you're less likely to comment on it than if you see a Facebook post with 20 comments, right? You're more likely to leave a comment of your own there. So that is an example of social proof. The same thing is definitely true when people are comparing reviews. When they look at these different reviews, they make assumptions because of that. So here's an example: Shades by Design, 61 reviews with an average 4.8 stars. Then we've got Biscayne Decor, 5 5-star reviews, still fantastic. In fact, from a percentage point, they're doing better than Shades by Design. And then we've got the Shade Store, 14 reviews with an average 3.9. So from a psychological standpoint, the obvious winner here is Shades by Design in a lot of people's minds, only because social proof is taking place that all of these people are leaving these reviews for this business. It must be great, right? So it's definitely part of the psychology behind getting more leads for your business is getting those reviews. Probably the most difficult thing to do as a business owner is to get those reviews, but having a system in place that consistently asks people at the time of install or shortly thereafter for those reviews is going to help this number increase. That's probably what Shades by Design is doing here. They've got some sort of a platform in place to request those reviews on a normal basis. And for Shade Store, maybe they shouldn't, or maybe they should do better, at the job that they're doing, get that number up a bit. So let's make the case for your business. What are the things that are different? And put these in the workbook. Is it upfront pricing that you guarantee? Upfront pricing that you guarantee? Do you have the parts? Do you make sure that you have protocols in place? There's a lot of different ways that you can go about this, but having that message written down and as part of all of the marketing that you send out is going to help you set your business apart from others. If you do have one that you put down for your business, want to put that into the chat, I'd love to see what that is. I know there are a lot of different ways to set yourself apart, and a lot of people on here that are in different phases of their business as well too. So, for some of us, we've got a decent amount of referrals coming in, and that making that case can be a little bit different than somebody who's just starting out, right? And really trying to separate themselves. All right, part number 3 is the media. Before I jump onto that, if there are any questions about the market or the message, please just put those into the chat and I will make sure I answer those. I don't want to go past anything from anybody. Make sure everything is clear for everyone. All right, media. So how are we going to get this message out to the people that we want to get it in front of? The big thing here is your website. Your website is the hub of everything that you do from an online digital marketing standpoint. So having a website is the first piece of that. And then all of the other platforms, all of the other potential ways that you can communicate with customers pushes back to that hub or that platform. And I mentioned this earlier as well, conversion is a big piece of having a website. So having a website is one thing, but you want a website that converts. You want a website that changes people from a visitor into taking some sort of an action. We call that calls to action, and you see these on a lot of different websites in a lot of different ways. Here's a screenshot of a company called Sunshine Drapery, and you've obviously got the big banner at the top, final days, right? That's a big call to action that's obvious there, but there are a lot of others that are a little bit less obvious, but still get people moving in the right direction. You've got a complimentary consultation up at the top. You've got the same orange button over on the right. You've got the phone number over on the right. You've got a chat box here if somebody wants to chat with them with a couple quick questions. There are plenty of ways here for a customer to know what the obvious next step is. And it's very important that you have those obvious next steps in place. So the big question here is, does your site convert visitors to the next step? That next step could be setting an appointment. Obviously, it could be picking up the phone to set an appointment or to ask a question, but it could also be maybe a next step for a visitor is just to sign up for your newsletter, right? Not everybody is coming to your website specifically to purchase immediately. Maybe they're in research mode and they're thinking about doing something after the new year, right? Or in the spring or something like that. So having a way for even those people to raise their hand is very important. One thing that we do for a lot of clients is build something called a lead magnet. And a lead magnet is just what it sounds like. It's something that a visitor is attracted to where they can exchange something of value in exchange for something of value. Typically, their exchange is their email address for something that you're delivering back to them. Looking at the Sunshine example again, over on the right, they have a free design guide. So this is a great tool to use for somebody who is not in purchase mode, right? They're thinking about maybe using this company, they're cruising around a couple websites. Having this in place gives them some extra information, establishes Sunshine in this case as the expert on bay windows or whatever the customer is having a concern about. And it also, from Sunshine's standpoint, gets their email address and gets them into their monthly newsletter program. So it keeps them top of mind. And it's definitely worth having some sort of a lead magnet on your site. Another example could be a checklist, 7 things you need to know before installing draperies in your living room, right? I just made that up, but some sort of short checklist is another great way to do this. But having something in place for those people that are not immediately in purchase mode and get you an opportunity to stay in front of them is great. Also, tracking mechanisms. It's very important, obviously, that if you're going to be doing all this work to get people to your site, do you have things in place? Do you have Google Analytics set up on your site? It's a free tool from Google, so definitely worth having. on their site. There's two different versions of analytics at the moment. There's Google Universal Analytics, which has been around for several years now. And then there's a new GA4, Google Analytics 4, that rolled out probably 8-9 months ago at this point. But people are slowly migrating over to, we're moving all of our clients over to that system. But definitely having something in place that gets you some data about how people are interacting with your business is obviously very important. And then do you have some sort of key performance indicators in place? So if people are coming in and there are opportunities, do you have something like this is our program called Lead Boomerang, but having something in place that counts, the opportunities that have come in, how much potential value that is, and then over time it will actually start to show you your conversion rate, things like that, where people are in the funnel. Having those KPI measurements in place can really help you understand and forecast, how things are going to be in the coming months as well. One really cool thing that you can do in Google Analytics, and we did a session specifically on Google Analytics. I think I did it in September. It's on our website, wtmarketingpros.com/training. There's a complete tutorial on analytics. But one of the really cool things you can do here is set up a goal in the back end of analytics. And one very popular goal in our industry is somebody set up an appointment, right? So being able to track how many people set up those appointments obviously is great when you can start to look at month over month and then eventually year over year. How many appointments did we get in the month of December last year? And then you'll be able to compare that to this year to see if it's up, down, changing, and help you make some decisions because of that. So the way that we do that is we create a thank you page. After you fill out the appointment form, it dumps the visitor to a thank you page. Then we can track how many people hit the thank you page, right? There's no other way on the web for them to get to that page other than by setting an appointment. So this is an example of a goal that you can set in analytics and be able to start tracking some tangible things, some KPIs, key performance indicators, to help you make better decisions. Now you can assign values to those. If you know every appointment that comes through at a 55% conversion rate means that goal is worth $2,000, right? Or something like that. So you can start to set values to those as you know those numbers and really see the potential that's out there for your business. Over time, you can set different goals inside analytics. So for this example here, this company had 156 people fill out the form, but check this out, 846 people pick up the phone to call them. So having some call tracking in place is another huge piece of this. Just having your regular phone number out there isn't the best scenario because you don't know 100% for sure where those people are calling from. So having that phone call tracking in place is huge. And in this case, there's a couple other things. This company had a design guide, so we were tracking how many people signed up for that. Also a Hunter Douglas catalog download. Not a lot of people liked it, but 12 people, right? That's 12 potential more customers. So tracking these different mechanisms, these different lead magnets can really help you make better decisions on what's working, what's not working, and get those people to raise their hands when maybe in the past they wouldn't. They would just push the back button and go to a competitor. I did mention call tracking. This is huge for any business. We highly recommend call tracking, and we actually implement call tracking for website. For any pay-per-click campaign, gets a special phone number. And Google My Business profile or Google Business Profile gets a separate phone number. And everything just forwards to your regular line, but it gives you the opportunity to track these different platforms to know which ones are working, which ones are not. I know Christian mentioned earlier, having these mechanisms in place to know that, the money we're putting into advertising on Houzz, is it worth it? So having a call tracking number specifically for that campaign can help with that as well. Facebook ads, all these different things. is a great way to do that. So highly recommend using call tracking. As far as one other thing, call tracking, if you're a client of ours, of course, you're going to be using Lead Boomerang, which has call tracking inside of that system. If you're not, another option is CallRail, call CALLRAIL. I want to say it's maybe $40 a month or something like that. I'm not sure, but gives you the opportunity to do that as well. So here's a little practice I want to give you guys. Take a minute to pull up your website. And this is what I want you to do. Pull up your website and then start clicking. Click 2 or 3 random links on the site, not in any specific order. Just click, go to a page, click something, go to another page, click something there. Once you land on that page, I want you to look for a couple things. Is there an obvious next step? I think that's the easy one, right? Is there an obvious next step when you land on that page number 3? Or do you have to go find a phone number? Is there a button that says click here to schedule an appointment? You know, is there some obvious next step? And is it an obvious color difference? Does it attract your eye? Things of that sort will definitely help you. And if the answer is no, then obviously, you know, you need to do some work on that particular one. It could be as easy as putting your phone number and an orange button in the header, you know, something like that. But definitely try this practice. Another one you can do is click 2 or 3 times, scroll halfway down the page, and then see if there's an obvious next step. Because in some cases, the header will scroll up if your header is not what we call sticky, right? So the phone number goes away, anything that's in the header might go away. You're in the middle of some random page with some sort of content. Does it still have an obvious next step? So that's a cool little exercise to go through and just see, you know, how is a customer potentially looking at the site and assuming they're clicking 2 or 3 times, and then in their mind, they're making that decision. Okay, I want to do business with this company. Do they have direction at that particular point? Also, do this on mobile. Make sure you pull up your mobile version of your website, check it out, and do it both ways. So I think you guys can see me up in the corner. Do it with your phone this way, and do it with your phone this way, because there are obviously different size phones, different size screens. There's also tablets, right? People are interacting with your website in different ways. So do this process on those devices as well. And when it comes to your phone number on mobile, make sure that you can click on that phone number and it pulls up the ability to immediately call that business. So click to call is what we call that. Make sure that your phone number shows up and it's clickable at any point on your site. That's a big tweak there that can really help you out. So, all right. So hope you guys like that little exercise. It's definitely worth taking a little bit of time to do. The other thing you can do here is have somebody else in the office do it, right? Or have your spouse do it, and stand behind. Okay, go to this website, click 2 or 3 things, and tell me what the next step is, right? Great little exercise to do, and do it with different age groups if you can. If you can get your mom to do it, or get your 20-something to do it, all those kind of things. You'll get different responses back probably. So the big problem with a lot of websites is 50 to 60% of people leave without doing anything, right? And then those that do actually fill out the form, a lot of times they fail to convert. And the reason is they're going to a website, they're filling out a form, they're going back, they're going to a competitor, they're filling out a form. And a lot of times those don't convert. The part of that reason is because if you're not following up with people quickly, they're going to go somewhere else, right? Leads that are not followed up within 15 minutes tend to go cold. We have customers, clients that are a lot of times also doing the installs, and maybe they're on a ladder and they get a lead, right? I'm in the middle of an install. Can I give you a call back later, right? Probably a lost lead. Average customer also needs to be touched multiple times, in a lot of cases on multiple platforms, before they decide to book an appointment with you. And lastly, a lot of consumers nowadays prefer texting over phone or email. So that's definitely something to make sure that you have in the back of your head. Do you have a platform like Lead Boomerang that allows you to text with potential customers as well? This is probably my favorite slide of all. And it's always incredible to me that the amount of time that elapses from when somebody calls you to the time that you get back with them. Look at the drastic decrease in your potential to convert them to a customer, to an appointment, something like that. In minutes, it's incredible. And this speaks to, I'm on the ladder and I'll give you a call back in 30 minutes. Well, your potential to convert them is a lot lower at that point. At the same time, the amount of times that you can touch somebody or follow up with somebody tends to increase the potential of that person or that customer becoming, setting an appointment or taking that next step. So these things are definitely important to both have in mind and have some sort of a platform or some sort of something built together to do both of these things. So marketing automation is a huge thing nowadays. Leverage some of that so that when somebody fills out a form, something happens within a minute, if not immediately. They get a thank you email back. They get a text message. Hey, thanks for filling out our form. Somebody from our team is going to be reaching out to you within the next 10 minutes, something like that. You can even do voicemail drops nowadays where you can just create a voicemail, an MP3 file, and upload that to a platform that drops a voicemail on that person's phone. And that does something great. It stops them from searching, right? Oh, finally, a business actually replied to me and got back to me. So it stops them from searching. It stops them from looking at your competitors potentially. So having some sort of system in place that immediately reaches out to them is great. And then, of course, having a follow-up sequence in place for somebody, to touch them multiple times and try to get them engaged with some sort of two-way texting if you can. So these are just some examples, but if you had 100 leads coming in and maybe you're able to convert 30% of them now, if the average value is 4,500, then you're looking at 135 grand in revenue, which is okay, right? I mean, that's a good number. That's what is that? That's 1.5 million a year or more. But that same 100 leads, if you're able to convert closer to 70% of those leads, that's a difference of almost $200,000 in potential revenue for your business. Same 100 leads coming in. It's just that having some sort of a system in place to help you accomplish that really helps, which makes every lead obviously a lot more valuable to you. So that is the big takeaway here is, having the conversion elements on your site in the right places and making sure you're talking to the right customer. So what kind of conversion elements can you implement on your website? I've mentioned a lot of these. The easy one is logo top left, phone number top right, some sort of obvious button to schedule an appointment. Make sure your phone number is click to call, some sort of a lead magnet, some sort of a download, something like that always helps as well. But having those conversion elements in place can really start to set your business apart and increase, the leads. If you already have a website, help you increase those leads overall. All right. So far we've kind of talked about setting clear goals, setting clear revenue goals for the year, knowing how many leads that makes you, that you need to have. Got some clarity around who your market is, who those people are, what your customer avatar is, what kind of message you're going to get in front of those people. and poke at their pain points, all those kind of things. And then the media, how are you going to get in front of them? There's a lot of different ways to do so. And of course, the tracking piece of that as well. Having a website that's optimized specifically for conversion, huge. And then I mentioned the tracking. Make sure that you're tracking all these items. And as I mentioned earlier, I did do a Google Analytics deep dive. I think I did it in September, maybe October, but definitely worth your time. A lot of business owners will get analytics and they'll log in and they'll see the pretty graphs and they'll say, yeah, something's happening. I don't know what, but something's happening on our website. And then that'll be it. They'll close it. So check out that training. WTMarketingPros.com/training is where that one is. But make sure to check that out because it'll help you start to understand how people are interacting with your site and be able to, kind of optimize some things there as well. All right, let's talk about takeaways. I'd love for you guys to put in the chat. You guys have been very quiet today. I would appreciate anybody putting into the chat. What did you learn? What are some good takeaways that you could share that maybe other people can benefit from? You can, of course, unmute if you prefer to do that, or just plug them into the chat. But I'd love to get some get some feedback from you guys. I saw a couple of you jump on late. I appreciate you jumping on as well. Let's see, Jenny, Paul, Mary. Thank you guys for jumping on. Appreciate that. Let me see. Christian, go ahead.
This is actually Abigail, but
Hi, Abigail.
something I learned, I guess, is sometimes I'm afraid to text clients because I feel like it's not professional, but it's nice to know that they're, I guess, preferring that method now. So I guess I shouldn't be as afraid to do that as often. Yeah,
that's big. The other thing great about texting is it's like a 99% open rate, right? If somebody gets a text, they hate to see that little bubble with the 1 there. And yeah, for our clients using the lead boomerang system, it's huge. And a lot of our clients are using the little chat thing in the corner on their websites, which as soon as somebody engages with that, turns into a two-way text conversation, and it is working very well. So that's awesome. Thank you. All right, Keith, my generic Hunter Douglas website is costing me business. Yeah, yeah, I'm not gonna go into bashing a Hunter Douglas website. It's fantastic, but it definitely limits you. Any of those corporate type sites really limit you on the things that you can do on the site, and especially from a search engine optimization standpoint. Yeah, we've got a couple clients who have Hunter Douglas websites and have built a separate website that they 100% control and are able to use as really as their main marketing channel. Allie says immediate conversion rate drop off associated with later response times was a very good thing to know. Yeah, I think that speaks to our society and our lack of patience nowadays, right? We want something and we want it now. But even just setting up some sort of a text message that comes back to that person as soon as they raise their hand, hey, we saw you, we will be reaching out shortly, drastically increases your potential to convert that person. And again, also stops them from potentially continue to search other competitors, I guess, if you will. So awesome. I appreciate the responses. Keith said, does Lead Boomerang communicate with a CRM? Yes, it communicates with a lot of CRMs, and it is a CRM as one of the tools that it also does. It's a complete system, lead generation system. But if you have a CRM that you really like, in a lot of cases, that system will dump those leads into a CRM that exists now. Depends on what the CRM is and how recent it is. We had a client that was on a CRM that was built in like 2008 or something like that, and it wouldn't communicate very well with that one. But all the new ones that are out, Zoho, Salesforce, a lot of those, it'll talk to just fine. Yeah. All right, awesome. So thank you guys for sharing. I do appreciate it. This is all part of what we call the digital dominance method. And there are a lot of pieces, as Christian mentioned early on, there's a lot of pieces to marketing a business online. It all starts with your website, your foundation, and starting to do some of these things, getting your SEO kind of moving in the right direction, and then doing ads and starting to put your website out on all these different platforms. There's a lot of pieces to this. Now, for 2022, obviously a lot of ways to go, right? As I just mentioned, there's a lot of ways to kind of go about this. If I were to pick one out, and I get this question a lot, where should I start? You know, I've kind of been doing a lot of these different things, but I'm not sure where to focus. You know, if I were to pick one out, I would say start with content. And I've kind of alluded to that throughout the day. Starting to build content that could be, it could be video. If you're comfortable doing YouTube short videos, start building that content. The really cool thing about video is you can then transcribe that and turn that text into something like a blog that you could put on your website. So there's some advantages to video, but not everybody's comfortable with video. So writing content, figuring out what keywords do I want to rank for and start writing content specifically for those keywords, for those phrases, and helpful content that just solves problems for visitors. It is going to increase the amount of eyeballs that you get on your site. There are other ways to create content, such as obviously a gallery of images, especially before and after. People love looking at those because they can see in their mind how their house could potentially look as well. So having a gallery, I'd say our clients, I'd say a good 40% of the time, maybe even higher, that a visitor spends on a average website of one of our clients is in the gallery section. They're looking through all the different ideas. So having that content up there is great. And the best kind of gallery content really is the stuff that you can take with your own phone or your own camera. Phones are fine nowadays. Having content from, who was that mentioned that earlier? Keith. So Keith is probably a Hunter Douglas dealer, I'm assuming. Hunter Douglas gives a lot of beautiful pictures out there, and those are awesome, great gallery content, but not always the best. And the reason is those pictures show up on hundreds, if not thousands of other websites. So Google is smart enough to see that's the same picture over and over again. So you're not going to get any credit, street cred, I guess, for having that kind of a picture out there. They're great pictures, and they're definitely worth having, but having pictures that you have taken yourself or paid a photographer to take are definitely going to help set you apart. And in particular, before and after pictures are great, always work very well. Keith says, yes, Hunter Douglas, Graber, Vital, yeah, and Norman. So most of those manufacturers provide pictures which are absolutely awesome in a lot of cases, but having some of those that you take yourself will really help. The other thing along those same lines is, I mentioned earlier, Google My Business, now called Google Business Profile. It's probably changed 10 times in the years that I've been in this business. But google.com/business, absolutely make sure that your profile is claimed, the address is right, all of the information is filled out in there. And I do have a training session on this as well, wtmarketingpros.com/training. There's one on there specifically about optimizing your Google business profile. But this is huge. This gets you into what we call the 3-pack of results. And I'll show you exactly what that is. Let me pull up a screen here and just show you. So if I do window treatments, Memphis. So this is what we call a SERP, SERP, or a search engine result page, right? For this particular search, this is the results, in this case, 4 ads, which is crazy. And then we have what we call the 3-pack. And the 3-pack here is where we are seeing 60 to 70% of our clients' leads are coming from this 3-pack. And this 3-pack is even more impactful on mobile searches, which is 60 to 70% of all searches are coming from mobile devices now. So having your Google My Business profile optimized in here will drastically help you increase your leads. So in this case, I showed an example earlier. Look at this, affordable blinds, 30 reviews, Renee's window treatments, no reviews, Tanner Meyer windows and interior design, 1 review. If somebody in Memphis were to start getting reviews and they got 2 or 3 reviews, they'd easily push one of these guys out, right? And immediately be part of this conversation. So optimizing your Google My Business profile is a big part of making that happen. So google.com/business, get that optimized, start asking for reviews, really going to help your business. The other piece to this is something called citations. And citations are one of the very first things we do when we get a new client. Citation is basically a mention of your business on some other website. So for instance, your Facebook business page, right, is going to have your website. It's going to have the name of your company. It's going to have the address of your company. It's going to have the phone number of your company. Those things we call the NAP, N-A-P, name, address, phone number. Citations, you always want that to be the same all across the web. So another example could be the Better Business Bureau, right? You want to get a listing on there so that you're listed. You want your name, address, and phone number obviously to be exactly the same. Now they might add a link back to your website, but even if they don't, Google's smart enough to see that your name, address, phone number match. So that is a citation for your business. Those citations improve the opportunity of you getting into that MAP 3-pack as well. So definitely citations is a huge piece of that. And that's a slow process, right? I mean, look at all these in this graphic, which is a little old, but all of these different places that you could potentially go to visit to list your business. Right now, we do probably, I think, around 220 citations within the first couple months of a new client signing on with us. It has that much of an impact on a business. So getting those done is huge. The other thing I wanted to bring up is social media. A lot of clients say, we need to be on the socials. We got to be out there. We have a little bit of a different theory, I guess, on social media. We definitely think it's an important piece of marketing, but we don't think it's the first piece. It is an important piece. It is part of that touch sequence of touching customers on different platforms. But social media by itself does not tend to generate leads, or they're not that great a quality. Christian mentioned earlier, wanting to know which of these systems is going to work better. You could just put a Facebook page together and start generating leads from it, but I think it's not the best choice when it comes to all of the other options that are out there. So definitely part of it, but not an immediate focus. There are plenty of other things to do that are more important. The other thing is, search engine optimization takes a long time. It's not something that you can go optimize your site, launch a new site, something like that, and start to see any benefits from for quite some time. And I mean, it could be 4, 6, even 8 months before your search engine optimization really starts to kick in. It has to be, you have to have your foot on the gas and really doing things every month to send those signals to Google. But in a lot of cases, you have to figure out a way to pay the bills for those 8 months while you're waiting for that to happen, right? So the other piece to that is pay-per-click. Pay-per-click is an easy way to get your business into the conversation quickly. And obviously there's a budget required there as well. So while you're doing SEO, having that pay-per-click in place can really help your business grow. In a lot of cases, what we see is when we start a new client, for example, their SEO, it takes a while to ramp up, right? Eventually it goes, but it definitely is nothing that's going to happen quick. So pay-per-click is the solution to that. A lot of times our clients will, when they start to see that changeover, 50% probably of our clients will pull back on that pay-per-click budget because it's not cheap. And 50% will say, it's working so well, let's just double down and have both things running at the same time. It gives you a little bit of an advantage because you can start to only run ads on ones that you're not already ranking for organically. So there's some really cool things you can do with it at that point, but getting to that point is, it's a little painful sometimes, not always the best. So back to our workbook here. What are your top three? What are the top three things that you need to focus on in 2022? For some of you, it might be a new website. It might be something that converts. It might be getting those conversion elements in place, or maybe it's some sort of direct marketing. I don't know. It could be, but I definitely think you need to kind of put down on paper what are three things that we really need to be working towards in the next year. What are you going to do? How are you going to track those things? What we call these KPIs, key performance indicators. Definitely put those down, write those down, and clearly create some sort of goals for the next year. Make sure that you're thinking about the 3 M's, right? The market, the message, and the media. Who are you going to talk to? What are you going to say? And then how are you going to get that message in front of them? Website that's optimized for conversion. You may have heard me say that once or 1,000 times today. Having some sort of tracking. You don't want to do all this work and not be able to track it. The great thing about everything related to digital marketing that you could do is it's all trackable, right? Some things might not work, but you'll have that data, and having that data lets you make better decisions from that. Some things that are working great, okay, we need to double down on that. It's working really well, right? Or we need to divert funds over here, that kind of stuff, get more people onto this page. So that's it. Go execute for 2022. I do appreciate everybody jumping on today, and hope that you were able to learn something. By the way, if you do not have a copy of my book, where is it? Where's my book? I want to make sure I get one in the hands of everybody. Triple Your Window Treatment and Awning Leads. If you don't have one of these, wtmarketingpros.com/book. I have a small stack of them right here that I'm getting ready to ship out. So I'd love to add your name to that and get one of those out to you as well. Lastly, if you want to talk in a little bit more detail about the strategies we talked about today, or where you're at and where you're hoping to get to, the easiest way to get on my calendar is wtmarketingpros.com/strategy. That pulls up my calendar and gives you plenty of times to choose from. And Christian, I think you did ask for a book. So if I haven't already stuck that in the mail, it's probably going out today as well. All right. And okay, Mary, I see your address. I'll get one out to you as well. So if anybody wants to talk, wtmarketingpros.com/strategy is a great way to do that as well. I do appreciate your time today. Is there any other questions that anyone has that I didn't get to answer? Ali says, this was great. Thank you for your help. Go ahead.
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
Just give us the dollars and cents to optimize a marketing campaign like this. What's the estimated budget a month?
So it depends on how aggressive you want to be, of course. For pay-per-click in particular, most of our clients are doing around $1,000 to $1,500 a month as a budget that they're putting towards generating those leads. And again, these are kind of averages, right? Because it depends on where you're at, how much competition there is, who you're shooting for as far as an end client. And then for the search engine optimization, we have two packages. We have one that's $9.97 a month, and we have one that's $24.97 a month, with some a la carte things in the middle of that as well. But kind of gives you a good range, hopefully, for what you could potentially be looking at.
So $1,000 a month or $2,500 a month, plus the $1,000 a month for pay-per-click.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. And at the outset, you mentioned, let's just say there was a goal of grossing $2.5 million a year. What was the number that you said we needed in sales a month to achieve that? If the average sale was 3,300, I'm not able to reach a calculator.
Yeah, 63 leads, I think is what it, or 63 purchases, I think is what it came to.
And if the conversion rate's around 70, how many leads is that? Do you happen to know?
I think my example was 55. Let me go back and let's just look.
I mean, I'm trying to get a realistic idea of what the monthly marketing cost is going to really need to be in order to hit those numbers.
Yep. Yep. So you would do 63 divided by 0.75.
Let's just say the 0.5 because you have it there ready. So it's 100. What would the marketing budget need to be in order to get, let's say for easy math, 120 leads a month?
Yeah. So that really depends on the competition in your area, how many other people are running ads in that area.
Okay.
And so I hate to be, kind of avoid the question, but I don't know. It could be that you're going to spend, $30 for a lead. And it could be that you're going to spend 150 for that lead. Until we dig in and look at that particular area and what are people paying per lead on average, it's kind of hard to tell what that number is going to be.
Okay, well, I'm in the New York, Connecticut metro area, so it's
so it's going to be fairly high, most likely. So yeah, I could definitely do a little research in there and give you some ideas of what people are paying per lead. If you need, let's say 120 leads in a month, and we know the average is, let's just say it's $100, right? Then what that number is going to be in spend in order to hit that.
Okay, and that's on top of the SEO management and the pay-per-click, correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
So let's say $100 a lead is not out of the ordinary.
Yep.
For a highly affluent market.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So in that case, that's 12 grand a month, I guess, to hit those numbers.
So 12,000.
And that's assuming you're only converting 55% of them.
Okay, so with the other fees, it's about 16,000 a month, and that's just for SEO. It's not for SEO and pay-per-click.
That's
not
everything. Yeah.
Does that include like the call tracking you talked about?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Others. Okay.
Call tracking, link building, a lot of the things that we do. Yeah.
So in sales, that would be, if average sales rates about margins around 50% on average. So it's about 32,000 a month in sales just to cover marketing costs.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, we'll schedule something with you. Thank you very much for your time today.
Awesome. Hope you guys have a great day. Any other questions? All right. Awesome. Well, thank you all for jumping on. I definitely do appreciate it. Let me see if I can get to the end here. If you do want to schedule a call with us, wtmarketingpros.com/strategy. Allie said this was great. Thank you for your help. Keith says thank you. I appreciate you guys' time today. Hope you have a great day. Take care.